different background.
Maybe environmental factors.
Environmental factors. Okay, you mean business environment or the environment, the
Just
natural
environment,
environment,
natural environment.
natural environmental factors. Okay.
Maybe political factors.
Political factors. Okay.
Overall economic conditions.
Overall economic condition, you mean to say the company specific condition or a country specific, or overall economy you are talking about?
The country specific with respect to this pandemic also.
Okay.
Organizational.
Organizational.
Sir.
Okay.
Actually, I come from IT industry, so as per my experience, actually that cost overrun and time overrun basically happens because of requirements. We actually requirement gathering is not basically 100% basically be completed, and between in obvious in development and in testing we realize that there are few requirements we missed it out. So that is the main issues.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Scope creep.
Project design changes.
Design changes, yeah, one of the major issue.
Delay in approvals or permits from respective authorities.
Okay.
Changes in the input cost, specifically raw material or the services cost because of external factors like sort of a political environment or a taxation change and so on.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, and project risk.
Yeah, please continue.
Yeah, so somebody
and project risk.
Yeah, somebody talked about project risk.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
the
risk
cost, the cost which is calculated by the project team, the team member which is having the lack of skill and lack of the project background, and it's regarding the time consumption and requirement of the project functional wise, and also the site wise requirement that may be missed due to the lack of experience.
Yeah, or you can say estimation error due to
estimation
skill,
miscellaneous.
There
are miscellaneous factors.
Yes. Okay.
There
are some comment also.
Of clarity.
Correct. We have read out the comments. So my observation is, though we do great monitoring and all that, but the pressure starts right from day one, because the project itself was undersold first of all. So the estimations and whatever was done was never taken into consideration. The sales team is under pressure to win deals. So what happens is the margins or whatever the cost coverage you have put in, the risk and contingency numbers, they all disappear on day one because you are so undersold the whole project. Even though
you mean to say business decision taken by business team or marketing team or sales team?
That it's a very frequent scenario we have seen, because you need to be one up on the competition, you need to win this deal, that label or the badge is very important, those kind of challenges.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Resource constraints.
Yes.
Resource constraints.
Resource constraints. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So look at the commonly found reasons, and there are a number of research papers on available and research conducted by many companies and professionals. And few of the common reasons that I could observe and I could find out was there are few unplanned costs which might have to, project team incurs during the project execution. Communication failure, communication breakdown, not enough communication also impact on the clarity or understanding of detailed scope. Scope changes, design changes is very frequent. Scope creep, you have rightly pointed out. Sometimes few of the difficulties or complexities were underestimated, and it may not be error, but there are few unforeseen difficulties can be observed. For example, if you have estimated that the digging of foundation will take 2 days, and you have estimated a cost, but the soil may be different, and it might take 5 days, and the cost can increase. There are few unrealistic cost estimate or error. We can say costing or estimation error. There are financing issues to execute the project, and many times the companies will have to have a working capital or maybe other alternative finance, which could be at a higher interest rate or interest cost. There are obvious delays in activities, like your supplier delayed the equipment, and which caused the delay in the project. And these kind of transportation delay, for example, accidental damages. If you are dealing with engineering projects, there could be failure during erection and commissioning, and the spare parts or replacement might take more days. So these delays also could impact your project, and which will increase your cost. There was one of the point was a delay in regulatory or statutory approvals, permits. So those also can impact your project schedule. There are leadership issues, or maybe project manager has not enough experience to handle those projects. There's a design mistake, design error, which only can be encountered when your drawing will be distributed to supplier and the equipments are under fabrication, or maybe when you start installing your equipments at site, you may find there is a design mistake, and there could be a redesign requirement. Coordination issues linked with communication, but coordination at site could also influence your cost. Performance failure can also increase your cost, because somehow you have to achieve the performance that you have committed in your work order or purchase order. Lack of contingency plans or risk management not done properly could also be the reasons for your cost increase. And there could be many more reasons: project specific, industry specific. Infrastructure industry might have a few more industry specific reasons which can increase the cost. Software projects might have a few other specific costs which infrastructure industry may not face. So these are the typical reasons that we normally encounter. And it seems that looking at the historical figures of cost overrun or the time overrun, it seems that in spite of the best management tools adopted, in spite of these knowledge is already available with most of the project professionals, still there are these challenges are still continuing. So in today's interaction, we'll try to see or try to explore the tools or the approaches which we can adopt as a professional, that in spite of all these challenges, at least what we can change in our approach to project cost management and also the value management, and how we can make the difference in our working or in our projects. So that our approach would be on what we can change. So typically, if we look at the cost control, there are major 3 strategies or 3 approaches that the companies or managers have been adopting. One is the cost containment approach, where your focus is on freezing of your cost so that in future the cost will not increase, and at least in the duration of the project you freeze the cost. Cost avoidance is the approach where you eliminate activities which are contributing to the cost, but these activities are not actually helping you to these activities are not justified, but because of some reason those activities were part of the project. So you can avoid those activities, and by doing this you can at least control your cost. And out of these 3, one of the major efforts are always on cost reduction. whether you talk to project manager, whether you talk to supply chain manager, whether you talk to purchase manager, everybody is always focused on how can I reduce my cost. And this cost reduction does not need any introduction, because everyone is trying to reduce the cost, and everyone is trying to focus on reducing fixed costs as well as variable cost. So whichever cost can be reduced by any of the management tool or any of the negotiation skills or any other approach, cost reduction activities are performed by project manager, supply chain manager, or a project manager. There might be few students also who might have joined this program. So for them, the project management book of knowledge highlights a couple of areas or the processes or the approaches, which also mention which are the inputs that you can look at, which are the tools and techniques you can adopt, and what exactly you can do, starting from planning of cost management to estimating your cost, to determining the budget, and then finally controlling the cost. So those students who are yet to go through the project management book of knowledge, please go through this particular competency area and available information. It will be very useful to you to understand a couple of tools which you can adopt in your day-to-day projects. Yeah, but let us look at some of the practical examples. Now, assume that you are a project manager or you are a CEO of a company which manufacture these kind of shoes. And you have been given a responsibility that, okay, this shoe, our manufacturing cost is about our production cost, or you can say total cost of this particular shoe is about 5,000 rupees. And competitors are very aggressive, and especially in the developing countries, there would always be a local companies or local market leaders which might have a popular brand or popular products. And similar products are available at much cheaper price. So if you would be given a responsibility to suggest the areas by which you can reduce the cost, which areas you will focus on, or which topics you will try to evaluate and say, okay, this could be one of the area where I can reduce some cost. Yes, so unmute your microphone.
Mass production can reduce
mass production, yes. Okay.
Upgradation of the
raw material cost.
Mass production. Okay.
Material cost.
Okay.
Labor cost might be technology driven production.
Okay. So right now maybe manual production, and that's why there could be a higher labor cost. So you are suggesting that there could be a technology can be adopted so that the cost can go down. Is that you wanted to highlight?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
There is another suggestion: look for automation opportunities.
Automation, okay.
By reduce the overall company cost, overhead cost.
Overheads, yeah, very important.
Distribution costs, sir, might be go for
transportation, online, distribution cost,
logistic cost.
Logistics cost, yeah, very important point, because this is a consumer product. Okay.
Packaging, product packaging.
Okay, yeah, it's also a scope for improvement.
Looking for alternate material which give the same results as the original material.
Yes, yeah. So alternate material. So alternate material is actually, you are suggesting a solution that material cost may be higher, so go for alternative material.
Yeah, reducing marketing cost.
Yeah.
Where investment is high.
Maybe you mean to say advertising and promotion cost?
I think so. Yes. That's the comment in the chat box.
Okay, advertising and promotion cost.
Yes. Jyoti says market best practices to reduce the cost.
Okay. Now see, all these points, please also analyze that whenever you take certain action, there might be an issue. There might be an impact, positive or negative impact of the suggestions that you are making. For example, mass production. So mass production is really a good way to reduce the cost. But what happens if you don't have the demand in terms of numbers? What will you do if by just producing in mass, if the demand will not be there? So there are positive and negative impact. Mass production will reduce the cost, but it might create an issue that if there will not be any demand, then you might end up into a loss. So that also you have to keep it in mind. Again, the technology is really a good suggestion, because by adopting a technology, you can reduce the cost. Again, in the developing country, there is always a debate of labor cost. Manual labor cost is still lower. So should we go with that level of technology adoption? But considering that yes, technology will help you a lot, the technology require your capital investment. It will not be cheaper. I mean, you might have to have a huge investment. So that might you might have to look at whether you have that kind of funding arrangement. And if you go for a bank loan or maybe some other funding, whether that interest cost will add into your product costing or not. So that also is the aspect you have to look at. Automation again is linked with the technology. Overheads, yes, if you can reduce overheads, then you don't wait for these kind of projects to be announced in the company. If there is a possibility of reducing the overheads, then obviously you would have done it. Now, imagine that this project is identified and suggestion has come that overheads cost can be reduced. By reducing overheads, basically you are cutting some few of the managerial staff or manpower. Now that might impact your overall ability of the management team in terms of planning, in terms of monitoring, in terms of review, in terms of their creative suggestions about the future of the company. So there are good, positive and negative impact of each and every suggestions. But yes, these are all very, very important points that one will always look at. Yeah, any more points related to cost reduction in the product? Which we have still not yet covered.
Reduce over designing. So probably some kind of lean thing.
Okay.
Avoid overdoing, value engineering.
Okay. Yeah, you can look at the product and you can look at does it make sense? This design makes sense, or this material makes sense,
right,
with this product. So yeah, that will always be beneficial. Okay, so this is a product related cost reduction that we have discussed, and quite a few good suggestions also came for cost reduction. Okay, let's see. Let's look at wind farm or a solar power projects. Will there be a cost reduction opportunities like what you suggested in a product? Will there be a cost reduction opportunities in these kind of projects as well? And if yes, maybe you can share your experience or your idea of reducing the cost of these projects. Yeah, anyone would like to share?
So by the
cost reduction opportunities in projects.
By the
Okay,
land at lower cost.
Okay, buy land at lower cost. Okay, yeah, good.
transportation will be the main factor while erecting the windmills. So reduce
Yes,
the
transportation is a use cost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alternate vendor developments, value engineering.
Yes, vendor development. Okay. Yes. Yeah, I mean, you have to look at the entire life cycle of these kind of projects. It starts with research and development, your design, your engineering, your procurement, then your assembly, your testing, then transportation, then erection at site, commissioning, and then of course your warranty services, and then the life cycle related services. So analyze, look at the cost in each of these activities or phases of the project life cycle, and then maybe you can think about
there is something called end of life also, which has to be taken into account when you, for example, when you are replacing some conventional energy versus with renewables. So that is something which will add value. How can you reduce cost there? How can examples are something like from a government perspective, subsidies is one way which you talk about. How do you become eligible for it? How do you leverage them effectively?
Yeah, so actually these subsidies or government incentives will not force the companies to reduce the cost, because they are anyway getting those additional benefits. They are good, required in the initial phase till you develop an ecosystem in the country, till you reach to a scale and size where the industry can be self-sufficient. But otherwise, the subsidies are actually counterproductive.
Yeah.
Because companies will not think in terms of reducing the cost unless they are forced to. But yes, what you are saying is right. These are also important aspects. There are a couple of comments coming in the chat section.
Execute the project within a time frame.
Yeah,
Or before.
I mean that's one of the basic in such projects where project planning is very, very critical, and project planning, then monitoring, then control. Also, the risk management should be done effectively. Then only you will be able to control the cost, or here we are talking about reducing the cost. That means if the 1 megawatt per megawatt cost maybe right now is a 6 crore rupees, for example, for wind power project, and for solar maybe it's a 5 crore or maybe 4.5 crore rupees per megawatt. So when we say cost reduction, how can we reduce that 4.5 crore to 3.5 crore or 4 crore? Or 6 crore rupees per megawatt of wind power to 5 crore or 4.5 crore. Now, why this cost to be reduced? Because ultimately, the cost of electricity generation has to be competitive to other sources like nuclear, like other thermal power plants or nuclear power plants, or even other renewable energy sources. So to achieve those cost reduction in terms of generation of electricity, the entire chain of activities needs to be evaluated, and wherever there is a possibility, the action to be taken. So here also there could be a material chain, there could be a new technology to be introduced which can be cost effective. So those solutions will still be there. Yes, any more idea about the cost reduction in such wind power or solar power projects?
So one of the things which comes to my mind is, do we really need to go for mega projects? Can't we look at the scale of projects? Do it in micro size rather than mega size. Yeah. That is another way of looking.
Right. So again, it boils down to again the scale of economies. So either mega project at one site, or maybe individual turbine itself can be scaled up to a larger size. And yeah, and these kind of trade-off and this kind of decision making is always there as part of the design and development team. That instead of 1 megawatt in the same location, if we install 3 megawatt turbine, what will be our cost of generation? Of course, 3 megawatt power plant or a wind turbine may not be available at 6 crore. It may be 15 crore. It may be 18 crore. But then it might increase the energy output, and ultimately it might reduce the per unit cost. So these decisions is always very, very important and critical.
Yes, we can reduce the transport cost of that wings. So if like plant is nearby, that manufacturing plant from the turbines is nearby that plant, so obviously we can reduce the transport cost also.
Absolutely, very good point. Yeah, so you have to you don't restrict your thinking to only a component level. You look at your entire supply chain. You look at entire your cost, including transportation, and you may think about distributed manufacturing facilities to actually manufacture very closely to the site if the site is large enough. Very good suggestion. Yes, this can reduce the cost drastically.
An interesting point shared by Anil is on the chat window. You could outsource the non-critical components. There you can see how to control costs.
Yes. So make or buy is always one of the important criteria from the strategic point of view as well as from the cost point of view. And companies continue changing. You know, they start with only manufacturing and assembly. Once they reach to a certain level, then they do backward integration in terms of manufacturing. When they see that this is again increasing the cost, and they might again consolidate their activities. So yes, make or buy or even a backward integration projects for manufacturing of key components is also one of the important criteria, ultimately to reduce the cost and also to achieve the strategic competitive advantage over competitors. Because in such a supply chain, even the availability of components, key components also can be a major issue. If you may get a huge business and then your suppliers are not ready, in that case, what you will do? Okay. Now we are discussing these cost reduction opportunities in projects as well as product because we want to understand the difference between the cost management, cost reduction, and value management. So the same example we will discuss with reference to value management. That if we have to add value into this projects or a product, then what all we can do. So, and unless we take same example and unless we brainstorm on the ideas of value management and the cost management on the same issue, we will not be able to link both. That how the value and the cost are linked, and why or why not these can be integrated or these can be treated separately. And that is the reason we are discussing this particular topic, that how can we reduce the cost in projects as well as the product. Okay, any more points? Otherwise, I mean, we can, there are generic cost reduction ideas would be, you look at the fixed cost, and the fixed cost reduction ideas would be either you reduce manpower. Now, you can reduce manpower if genuinely you don't need, or maybe you adopt automation or technology and you require less manpower. You reduce energy or fuel consumption in your activities. You reduce some of the rent if you are paying. You reduce your financial interest if you are paying huge financial interest on loans that you might have taken. These are some of the fixed cost reduction ideas. Then there are a few variable cost reduction ideas, like you improve your quality You reduce your rejections in process or maybe a final product rejections or defects, which also will overall will help you to save your or reduce your cost. Your effective purchasing is always one of the major contributor of reducing the cost. You may bulk purchase, you may have a long-term agreement, strategic relationship with your suppliers, and you can get a huge discount. Design changes, material changes also can play a very critical role, or maybe a component change, or maybe a new technology, maybe a different technology inside the equipment can also help you to reduce your per unit cost. And with reference to projects, we can always adopt activity-based costing or activity-based management, and we can look at which are the activities which are not value added, not adding any value, and we eliminate those activities. So these are typically fixed cost and variable cost reduction ideas, and maybe few ideas that you have shared in terms of reducing overheads, in terms of reducing marketing cost, in terms of reducing transportation costs by having a distributed manufacturing facilities, etc., etc. So yeah, good points, good suggestions as far as cost reductions are concerned. But as we all know, is the cost reduction is enough? Probably not. Why not? Because world is changing, and world is changing at the faster rate than what we might have thought 10 years ago or 5 years ago. It is becoming more volatile, complex, turbulent, unexpected, ambiguous, and many other attributes that you can attach. If the world is changing so fast, can we be slow in responding? So here the issue will be that we cannot continue remain slow in responding to the needs of stakeholders. And here we are not just restricting our discussion to only our customers, but all the stakeholders related to the company or the projects who might be impacted directly or indirectly through these managerial decisions or actions. Even in this globalized world or a competitive world, the companies will have to make profit. They have to earn money. Only then they can survive and they can reinvest that profit into future developments. Also, the companies nowadays, because the differentiation factors among competitors are also reducing, and you will see more and more products are very similar, more and more offerings are very similar. So a company also need to be different from competitors. And as soon as a company becomes different, then competitors will also try to adopt, and then within few months we see all the companies' offerings would be very similar. So there is always a consistent need to remain alert and continue taking action so that companies can remain or companies can continue to be different. And whichever competitive advantage you have, that why you are better than your competitors, you must sustain that competitive advantage. And because of all this reason, only by reducing the cost, you probably may not achieve all these objectives. And that is the reason value management is gaining acceptance and gaining importance in the industry. How the value management evolved, those of you who are not aware about value engineering or value analysis, it started in the late 40s during the World War II time, and especially GE initiated these kind of projects when they were facing crunch of material for war or equipments for war. Because of the raw material was not available, they identified the projects that, okay, can we use alternative material and still achieve the functionality? And that's how the value engineering and value analysis started. But that value engineering, value analysis evolved into value management today. So today, value management includes value engineering, value analysis, and also it has been extended to projects, and it has become a full-fledged value management concept. So what is the need here? in value management. In value management, the focus is to use least possible resources and achieve or maybe exceed the requirements of stakeholders. So achieve the need of stakeholders or exceed the need or requirement of the stakeholders with least possible resources. And here we are not talking about cost reduction or cost control. And ultimately, why all this? To stay competitive. And the number of industries, they found that value engineering or value analysis or value management has been very, very effective. And it has actually worked as a group decision-making tool and solved many, many industry problems that the people or the companies were facing before they adopted this tool. But the key question is the value itself. Word is subjective. So how the value is defined? We use the value word quite often. How do we define? Yes, anyone would like to define the word value? I mean, cost can be defined easily, but is it easy to define the value? And what is your understanding about value? Yes, anyone?
What happened? I thought I would hear many responses for this.
Okay.
The worth of that product or service.
Okay, yeah. So the initial concept of value, even in 1700, around 1730, the value of an item must not be based on its price. It should be based on the utility which it yields. This was a very, very old definition, maybe 380 years ago. That means the value has a relationship with the functionality. And the value needs to be looked at from the other person's perspective or the user's perspective. Because the product or the project, ultimately customers or some user will be using it. So unless we look at from their perspective, it will be very difficult to define the values. So not just by technical characteristic, but looking at the functionality. And the new definition of the value, which is a very broad definition, is the satisfaction of the stakeholders divided by resources required. The simple ratio, because ratio is easy to understand. So if we can meet or if we can exceed the satisfaction of stakeholders, and we have to look at which kind of resources or how much resources that we have utilized.
There are some inputs from the chat.
Yeah, please.
For your benefit about what people's opinions are around value.
Yes.
Somebody mentioned some value is going above and beyond. Value is something we get in return of price.
Okay.
And value is something the company provides beyond the customer's expectations. These are interpretations from their end.
Yes. Yeah, very important points. Yeah, these are all valid points and defines or highlights one of the aspects of the value. But the broadly we can look at meeting or exceeding satisfaction of stakeholders and what kind of resources that we have utilized. So if we have utilized less resources and achieved the higher satisfaction or from the stakeholders' point of view, then obviously we have added the values.
Yeah.
If the resources consumed are more and stakeholders are not satisfied, probably we have to look at some kind of improvements into it.
I think I could relate it to a very, very cliched way of saying things which I have heard very often. The operation was successful using latest technology and all that. What the end result was the patient did not survive. So the value here for the stakeholder was the life of the patient. Not the technical skills or the surgeon's expertise or the cost which was paid for it and all that. So the value was the life of that patient.
Right.
It was not met. You could not save the life. So that's what value already means here, is from a stakeholder, other person's perspective, the person whom you are serving. rather than at your end.
True. So value management is it includes also decreasing the cost, because the denominator in the equation is still resources used. So it includes the cost focus, which was the initial between 1950 and 1990, we can say. The focus was much more on the cost, and the new focus is now on meeting stakeholders' needs. Remember, after 1990s, there is so much of discussion about customer needs, customer satisfaction, because we opened up our economy and we suddenly started facing global competition. Multinational companies started entering into India, and suddenly customer became very, very important for all the companies. And now beyond customer, all the stakeholders, including employees, also became very, very important. So now the focus is on meeting or exceeding stakeholder needs. And that includes the softer aspect of the value management. So value management has a harder aspect and the softer aspect. We have to combine both. So if we are following value management, does not mean that we should keep eyes closed towards the cost reduction opportunities. Whichever cost reduction opportunities that you might see, if it is not impacting your stakeholder needs or expectations, or any of your values are not compromised, please go ahead and do it, because it will be double benefit to you. You reduce the cost without changing your stakeholders' needs and demands. This requires a multidisciplinary team approach, and it is a structured process. It requires thorough analysis and also a lot of creativity. So value management also has the requirement of innovation or creativity, or we can say brainstorming by different discipline or diverse group of people within the company. They are all contributing into creating a value. So it's again a team approach. So let us again come back to our original product decision. Now, as a project manager, now you have to add value into this product. You have already suggested several cost reduction activities. Now imagine that those cost reduction activities have been achieved, and you could reduce around 1,000 rupees of cost per pair of shoe. Now, which kind of value you can add? Can you suggest some idea of adding value? Now here there could be two possibilities. When you think about adding value or meeting stakeholder or requirements, you might incur additional cost. And few of the values you can add without incurring a cost. So you have to be careful. If you are adding a cost, don't worry. But then whatever additional cost that you are incurring to add value, the value or the benefit should be in a multiple of that cost. It should be 2 times, 3 times, 5 times than the additional cost that you incur. Otherwise, your entire exercise of cost reduction will be of no use. And instead of from 5,000 to you reach to 4,000, but by add the value, you will actually make it 6,000 rupees. So the key question at that time would be whether the customer will be happy to buy this product which was available at 5,000. Now you have added some value. Will the customer be purchasing at 6,000 rupees? Yes. So any idea of adding value into this product?
Sir, can I, sir?
Yes. Please go ahead.
One thing which will increase the cost, we can give the additional shoe polish.
Okay.
Or another thing which will not add the cost, that is a warranty or guarantee that commonly being followed.
Mm-hmm. So you will give additional warranty.
Warranty without cost, that will not increase much cost, and providing a free shoe polish material, that will increase some cost, but will add the value to the customer.
Okay. So when you offer a warranty and you don't charge anything to customer will feel happy. But then what happens if they come for repair and you have to incur a cost for repair or maybe a replacement of this shoe? So you will have to factor this cost ultimately in your overall operation. That out of 100
Yes,
shoes
sir.
that you sell, maybe 5 or 10 will come for repair. So you are actually adding some cost, which at an individual product level you will not be able to visualize, but in the profit and loss statement of the company, you will incur this cost. But yes,
Yes.
if it is increasing your satisfaction of your customer and you are getting some more benefits out of it, it's a good idea.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I heard somewhere very. I don't remember the actual example. Basically, one water purifier come with a destructive innovation. Like other
Okay.
competitors were offering a 2 years warranty. He come with direct 10-year warranty. So
Yes,
such kind
yes.
of disruptive innovation or disruptive offering create much benefits, but how much value or how much cost it will create, that is questionable.
Now, normally my experience with working with a couple of companies says that they generally add warranty cost into the product price. So when they say 10-year warranty, unless their technology or product is something innovative or patented, or they have made sure and they have checked, they will not incur a warranty. Otherwise, their product might be a little bit costlier, but then there is a 10-year warranty, so it gives a signal to customer that this product might be much better than other company, because other companies are offering only 2-year warranty. And customer might go ahead with with this kind of product which has a larger more years of warranty. So that's a good way of differentiating your product vis-a-vis competitors. But unless we have the input about whether those warranty related cost is considered, because if you don't consider warranty related cost, and imagine that you get replacement of 50% or 30% of product recall or product replacements, what will you do? Because you have given a warranty, you have to replace it. So you have to be careful with the warranty related cost.
Yeah. And I think there are many suggestions in the
please
in the chat box actually.
Yeah, will you please share those?
Yes. One says that you can increase the product life and increase the comfort.
Okay.
Another thing is that provide after sales service.
Okay.
Another thing is give accessories with the shoes, like polished pair of socks. I think we discussed about that. Another is custom support. I think customized support, that's what it means. And another is the fast service.
Okay.
Another is providing resale value on the purchase of other shoes.
Okay.
Yeah, these are the comments in the chat box actually.
Okay, interesting. I would like to yes.
Robust design so that these shoes will handle extreme conditions also in rainy season when we go out for a walk.
Okay, or maybe wear and tear free kind of shoe. It does not deteriorate faster. But then the key question would be whether consumer will be happy to wear the same shoe for 5 years, or customer have a choice. They look at replacement or replacement of the products at certain period after 1 year or 2 year. So we have to also look at consumer behavior as well.
Sir, we can make the production means custom made product.
Custom made product, yeah, it's a good suggestion. Yes, that's really a good suggestion. It could be adding a value. So there are many
like Lenskart.
Yeah, there are many small small manufacturers, or you can say the small shop, where they actually make this kind of custom shoe. You go there and they take your measurement and they deliver they manufacture the shoe for you, handcrafted by them, expert people, and then they deliver.
Yeah.
But then you will not have a brand attached to it. So if you are a brand conscious, like you are comfortable wearing Italian shoe, for example, or you are attached to certain brand, then probably you might be you might not like those kind of handcrafted shoe purchased from small shops. So again, consumer behavior. But yeah, this could be a good idea. Okay. I'm going to share what extreme value can be added with a real world example. I'm going to share for the shoe example.
We'll give the material details and all the accessories details that which is used for the shoes. It's a quality material.
Okay.
And it's like suppose the leather is crocodile leather and some details which is in the market is not exist. And which the cost is calculated with the materials, so you can provide the details with the shoes.
Okay. Yeah, so that will make consumer aware about what exactly they are wearing, and many people might have some reservations about certain materials, so they can be aware about not to buy or buy these products or not.
You can also improve the experience of the person when he is buying the things.
Yeah, so that the experience at the store, right, that also is a very critical aspect. That how you handle the customer.
Yeah, one such thing is there, actually reducing the waiting time.
Yes. Yeah, but then again, it will boils down to your planning of how many people you should have to handle the customers. Which are the hours where you have a peak period where maximum customers are walking in. This require a little bit of your operations management and your analysis, and accordingly you can have the staffing and other support arrangements. But I'm going to share up to what extreme a company can go and what kind of value can be added. And I don't know whether you are familiar with this kind of facility or not, but I thought that when we are talking about the value, we must look at what can be the extreme example of value creation. So look at how the value addition can be done. So there is a company which first of all scan your foot. So you go there, and your foot is scanned with a camera, high resolution mobile camera or digital cameras. So that's the first activity, first step to be done. Second, your foot, that data along with your video of how you walk actually fed into a system, and your foot is completely analyzed by the experts, by engineers, by orthopedic surgeons, by physiotherapists, and they actually contribute into design of that. But design a shoe that is best for your foot. And there are a number of tools which are used: artificial intelligence, machine learning, 3D graphics. Everything is used, all the best technologies used with the human intervention, with the value addition from doctors, physiotherapists, to suggest the best design for you, and then using a 3D printer, customize shoes using the 3D printer. So there again you have a possibility of a lot of colors and combination, and the kind of material that you want, which is the best for you. So this is one of the extreme examples that how you can add the value. Now look at these process steps the company follows for custom designing of the shoe. What do you think, by doing this kind of value addition, what this company is actually achieving? What is your analysis? Is it good to offer such kind of values to customer? Is it good to offer three-dimensional, good to use 3D printing when there are hundreds of thousands of people who can make shoe? What do you think? Do you think people care about whether it's a 3D printed shoe or made by a cobbler or made in a factory? What is the value addition here done by this company?
For some customer group, it is extreme satisfaction that it is using in high-tech technology.
Okay.
It is, in front of us, and everything is automated, and there is a very great feeling that something is getting made for me in a customized way, and it's very different way than what used to be in traditional way. So it's an extreme satisfaction of the customer.
Isn't it like a Rolex watch or a Mercedes that you show to your neighbors? That look, this is what I have.
Yeah,
Because
it's similar to that.
Yeah,
That's
it's self-esteem. Is not everyone is doing this right now. Maybe after 10 years things will change, but today it is most valuable. Yes, okay, that's one aspect.
It's a very aspirational product.
Okay, aspirational product. Okay, what else? I mentioned one of the steps where the orthopedic surgeons and physiotherapists are involved.
Yeah.
What is the meaning of that? What is the benefit that customer receive? Physiotherapists and orthopedic surgeons are involved in. Why this company is taking your video of how you walk? Why they take photograph and video of your food?
For ergonomics.
Ergonomics, okay. Anything else?
Comfort.
Comfort, yeah, okay.
Because every even single person's left and right, I think food, different things. So
could be different.
Yes. We have seen this. There is a company called ASICS, ASCIC, I think, and that they are doing it in different places. In Bangalore,
there are a couple of startups who are doing it, and that's why we are comparing that. What is the difference between a cost reduction? So it's not just a dream. I mean, there are startups who are reaching to that level of maturity, even in this value addition. So this is a real case that we are discussing. Okay. Any other value that you are thinking? So let us look at the benefits that the customers receive. The entire campaign can be your footwear is reinvented. So it is the way it is completely changing the way you look at the footwear. You look at the design. You buy. It is completely changing the way you buy your footwear. And there is a more focus to your comfort and how it is not damaging to any of your bones or your walking postures. It is much more. It is much more scientific. It's much more medical field is involved. It is a feeling of a custom designed footwear. And like we have a designer dress, like we have a custom design outfits, clothes, this also could be a custom designed footwear. But most important, what it does actually is solving the pain problem due to several medical conditions that people have. It could be flat foot, it could be heel pain, it could be diabetic foot ulcer, and I mean, it is really really amazing to see that 1 in 4 people have foot problem. They have a pain. They complain that I can't wear this or that size or that design of or kind of shoe, or maybe a slippers or maybe some other design. So we face this problem, but we just ignore because we don't know where these kind of products are available and whether such products are available or not. There are some standard products available which advertise and market that it will reduce your pain. There are acupressure kind of design of shoe also is in the market. Few products are available, but look at this kind of value addition where it is changing the way we look at our footwear. We look at how we buy or how we use it. And I think the most important aspect is involving the experts, orthopedics, physiotherapists, and engineers to suggest what should be the ideal design for this particular foot. Isn't it amazing where you are preventing certain future problems in your bone or problems in your knee by just selecting the right footwear for you. And look at how the advanced technology like computer vision, machine learning, algorithm, medical experts, they all synthesize and they all add value into creating a footwear. And also 3D printers are used, so it's not that you give a design and it will take 1 month or 15 days to get the shoe manufactured. 3D printer can do it in few hours. So these are the benefits. Now, do you see a value of these benefits? Even if it is 25% of the population, even if it is 10% of the customer, maybe not everyone can afford these kind of custom footwear. Maybe everyone may not require these kind of footwear. But even if a 10% of the population can be a target, and if there are only a handful of companies, look at how they can capture the market and how they can become the market leader in this segment just by adding the value. And now you look at if you offer this kind of customer footwear which can take care of your pain problem, will it be difficult for you to pay little bit of higher price than the conventional footwear that you buy from your from the store, where these are the standard footwears which are for everyone? What do you think? And especially if you are suffering from any of such medical condition, you will not mind even paying 2,000 rupees extra, because it solves your medical condition. But even if you have you don't have any pain problem, maybe if you are scientific person, maybe you understand how it can prevent your future pain of your knee, or maybe a heel pain. Maybe you may switch to it. You may select such products. So there are benefits. So here you might increase the cost because you are using 3D printer. You are involving the experts, doctors, physiotherapists. So they also might charge some of their services. So you are adding cost here. You are not actually controlling the cost. You are not reducing the cost. You are adding the cost. But if you are able to convince the customer that, okay, this is the additional cost, but there are also additional benefits, then this company or this kind of business model will have really a good future in the market, and they can disrupt the way we look at the footwear.
I think this is a good example of a holistic solution which we talk about normally.
Yes, yes.
If you as somebody who is suffering from foot pain look at it, this is what you would like to see. You don't want to go to a doctor separately, a chiropractor separately, a physiotherapist, and finally to a shoemaker who doesn't even know what is your real problem. So this is where everything comes together.
Yes, and as a company, when you develop these kind of products, before you launch into the market, you would definitely do some research. No, you will develop few products. You will give it to customer. You will do your research about how your product is effective. So if it really solves the problem, then definitely you have a business case. And the impact of such value management is the competitive advantage, because here there are very few competitors at this moment. So you are considered as a different company than your competitors. You may have opportunity right now to generate more profit because you are adding value to it and customers are appreciating it. You may have a higher market share, may not be in the entire shoe market, but maybe a small niche market where customers are looking at this kind of solution. There is a great growth potential for your company, because imagine that if everyone will start thinking about this, and at least even 25% of the population can adopt to custom footwear, maybe you will have a great growth potential because you are pioneer in this field. You can have a product pricing and differentiation strategies you can adopt. So with just a blending of technology and understanding the customer's area, customer's pain area, and suggesting or integrating everything, how you can add value into your stakeholders and how it can disrupt the whole market. This is the one of the best example of innovation management, or you can say a company becoming innovative. same thing you can do it in a projects as well. Now, when I was working in my previous company, I was involved in one of these this value management or value addition project, and I was the head of this particular central SCADA control center from design to complete execution, and that's why I thought that I should share this value addition. This was way back in the year 2003, 2004, 2005, where we were into a 2G kind of data transfer speed, or a dial-up to connect the internet. We were using only GSM, no GPRS, no edge network or no advanced technology. 3G, 4G was not there. Even in those days, this project was conceptualized. And by connecting all across the globe wind turbines installed into a central SCADA system, the ability of the team to collect the data and the data analysis and decision making based on data analysis improved. Company could launch predictive maintenance for key components like gearbox and generator and few of the bearings, and it reduced component failure. It increased the availability of the machine, because in renewable energy, you generally give guarantee or warranty to your customer as far as machine availability is concerned, because your entire project feasibility is based on how many hours your machine will be available for energy generation. So it increased the machine availability significantly, 5 to 8%, than before it was connected with the central SCADA system. The integration with ERP system was possible, so that there was no complete elimination of manual data entry for making Excel based reports, and the entire data from the central SCADA system will be transferred to ERP system, and then the remote access to daily reports to customer also extended, which was otherwise a manual exercise, and it was a delayed reporting of the generation and other major events at the sites. You can do remote start, remote stop, remote reset, and the complete control of your farm like a power project, the way you control the conventional power project. And there were many more benefits. Of course, there was some initial investment of a few $1 million involved into this project, because you need to have a hardware, you need to have a network, data network connected with the routers and the central SCADA servers and few other hardware and software systems. But then the benefits were multi-fold than the cost. So this was another example of how a project also you can add value and exceed or meet your customer satisfaction. So finally, coming to how can we do value management? Kalyan, there is this maybe 1 or 2 comments. Can you look at in the chat section?
Yeah,
okay,
not much. It is limited
okay.
to that value creation
no.
which we talked about. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So option 1 is how you can actually implement this kind of value management in your work. Look at the resources that you are consuming right now and try to reduce the resources. Now, when you try to reduce the resources, obviously your focus would be the functionality of the product or any of your aspects, quality aspects or a performance aspect of your project or your deliverables will not be impacted. Another option could be you improve satisfaction of stakeholders. Now, these require a thorough understanding of your stakeholders' needs. What is the requirement of each stakeholders, because there could be a conflicting need of the stakeholders. A project manager is a stakeholder, your CEO is a stakeholder, your shareholders is also a stakeholder, customers are also a stakeholder, and all would have a conflicting needs. So you collect those needs and try to improve the satisfaction of these stakeholders, or you can do both. You can improve satisfaction and you can reduce the cost together. There is an interesting fourth options which we just talked about, is you can even increase the resources that you are consuming right now. You can increase those resources, but you can also simultaneously increase your satisfaction of stakeholders in a multifold, not just a one-to-one. Maybe you add resources by one factor of 1, but you can see the benefits in a factor of 5 or 10. So that also can be one of the good options as far as value management is concerned. Now, extending value management to the projects, how it can be done. So normally there should be a need, there should be a need or objective for the bringing a change or adding more value, or maybe to look at the resources. Then you build a context, you look at the needs, stakeholders' needs, or you understand what is the requirements. Then you can start generating ideas. You can elaborate your ideas. You can analyze all these ideas. You can look at alternatives, and then you can take a decision. Once you take a decision to bring a change, then your project or program or your action will start. Once you implement those actions, obviously your overall organizational capability will be improved, and you also realize the benefit related to that particular value that you added into project or a product. And then again, you go back to your objectives and look at whether you have met those objectives. So this cycle will continue. The only point that you need to take care is identify and do this cycle in the early stage of the project, even before your tenders or bids that you bid to customer, because you know, as you progress on the project, there are very few opportunities to actually add value or reduce the cost, because you already had taken so many decisions which cannot be reversed without adding to a cost, without additional cost. So it is always better to think about all this value addition before actually you begin your tender or bid process, or at least before negotiating or before finalizing the final scope of the project, or a final work order, or a purchase order of the project or a product. So try to identify as early as possible. Yeah, I think this was the last, that how you can extend the value management to the project. I think now we should allow participants to, if there are any other, if they want to share anything, or if they have any questions, or they want to share their best practices, what they are following. Yeah,
So
let us open up.
Let's take question first, and
Yes.
then probably suggestions. Any questions related to this?
Yes. Yes. Anybody has any other points to discuss, or any other question? So we should not look at cost management separate and value management separate. We have to integrate both. Both are integral to be innovative company, to be different than competitors.
So Chetanji, one question from my end is, I'm
Yes,
still wondering, we have great tools for cost management and other techniques which we had in project management. When it comes to value management, there is an element of subjectivity here in this. Because whatever I feel as valuable to me as a customer may not necessarily have the same value for you or somebody else in the audience.
Yes.
So as a project manager, how do we do this the right way? So are there any tools, or are there any best practices which we look at to ensure that we bring the right value?
So yeah, so let's look at two different aspects. One is a product, and one is the project or a services that you provide.
Okay.
In a product, many times customers, many times even design team is still evolving the concept of the product, right? And as they develop a prototype, maybe first prototype, second prototype, third prototype, and also they are looking at available technologies in the market, what all can be integrated into this. So there could be a possibility to add more value as they are developing the product. So the one of the tool which is used for value addition is the frequent prototyping. So if you have an opportunity to work with a company, you can develop frequent prototypes and more prototypes. It's a concept of fail fast to succeed faster. And thorough integration with the customer team. You meet, that's what you do in agile project management. What you do, you in agile, you go with a working prototype of a software even, right? And also you involve customer in a weekly meeting. You discuss about your progress, you share the working prototype. So that is one of the best way to understand whether these kind of innovations or value addition, whether customer will like it, whether they benefit from it or not.
Okay.
And another important aspect is how can we add value. So more and more diverse background people we have to build in our team. The way aircraft manufacturers, the way automobile companies have used these tools and they have mastered this practice of value management. The same thing will have to be adopted. So lean product development could be one of the tool which can be adopted.
Okay, understand. So when it comes to services, there will be some more challenges, right? This is good for product.
Yes.
Because there is something tangible which we can see and say, okay, correct, this is what it is. But when it comes to services, there is an further element of uncertainty.
Yes, so that's where even before you open up your services to your customers, you can always have a few people who are using your services, and then you study from the way the services were offered to your customers. You can get a feedback from customer, maybe select few customers initially, what they valued out of it. So consumer behavior research and the feedback from customer also will be very important, will play a very important role in a service innovation.
Okay, thank you.
So all this concept of product innovation have actually started adopted by the service companies, and they are focusing on more service innovation opportunities.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any other question? We have still a couple of minutes.
Okay, so the key question would be, you have been in this program for last 1.5 hours. So is it a cost for you or is it a value for you? So you have to, brainstorm, you have to think about it.
You are asking, you have spent 1.5 hours in this webinar. You're talking about that.
Yes.
Whether it is an investment or is a cost. It's
so is it a value for participants, or it's a cost? Just
value.
Spending 1.5 hours.
So value.
Is it a value? Is it a value?
Value.
Yeah. Basically, for participant, it is a value.
Correct.
There are many responses stating it is value for them.
So, if you can share one of the takeaway that how can you apply this concept in your day-to-day life, maybe professional life, maybe personal life. If you can share at least one of the takeaway, it will help us to also understand that how much value has been added into this program. Any of the takeaways that you as an individual is taking with you after attending this program?
Somebody has mentioned enhanced planning for competitive advantage.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think we should focus on value management rather than cost management.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Value management should be focused much more. Well, cost management we have been focusing for so many decades now. Let us focus now next 10 years on value.
as a startup, suppose once we have planned for some startup of a company or startup of some product, we have to look for the value for the customer in the market compared to health benefits or like organic and some kind of things
you
is
have to
going
think
on
much
now. We
more.
can
Correct,
so
correct,
such
correct.
kind of thing we can manipulate. We can compare this with the value addition for the customer.
Yeah, and the values have no limit. It is just our thinking and our ability to look at the customer and their pain points and think about values and do experimentation, do trial, develop a prototype, go to customer and get their feedback whether they feel value or not. So, I mean, there is only sky, even sky is not the limit for innovation. That's what is the key message from value management.
True.
Yes.
So,
Actually, we should take care. We should just take care about both, like cost as well as value, because both are integrated things.
yeah, but as an Indian manager, cost management is always in our blood.
Yes, correct,
Yeah,
correct.
so there you don't need much of the education. You don't need much of the focus. But in value management, yes, we have to orient the mindset of people who are working in our team, in our companies, to focus more on value, not restricting their thinking only on cost, cost, and cost. Often we have a discussion with the purchase manager when we deal with them on training programs or coaching assignments. They always focus on cost, cost, and cost. And that's where I think some more awareness about value management is required to HR managers, to purchase managers of the company. Then they can add much more value than what by reducing 1 or 2% of the cost.
Yes. I think if you take more about value, then cost automatically adjusts according to like values.
Correct.
True. And Ketan is
if you take it more about values, then obvious, because of value first cost, after that values comes. So if we take care more about the values, then obviously cost will be our limit, our estimate like that.
Yeah, and your CEO, today's CEO, actually, like, even if you add a cost, they will appreciate if you are adding value 10 times, 5 times, 20 times of the additional cost. So today's CEOs are also different because they want to, create, take their company to the global level, next level. And by just cost focus, we cannot become a globally competitive companies in the world.
And anyway, you are saying that being an Indian, you get the cost management inheritance actually.
Yes.
Right. You just have to focus on value management.
Correct. And those of the participants who have not yet joined Facebook group of Project Managers Club of Pune or WhatsApp group, Vivek will be sending the link along with the email. So please join these groups.
Sure.
So that we will have a frequent interaction and all the program intimation also will be notified to you.
True.
And one more appeal, the next program we are planning on how pandemic made me a better project manager. So if you are a project manager and if you suffered due to pandemic, but you did something new or very different in your professional field and you achieved success based on that, and if you would like to share your stories, we are planning at least 4 or 5 project managers sharing their stories, how the pandemic made them a better project manager. So please share to your circle as well. If anybody would be interested, you would be the next speaker of the next program, one of the co-speaker.
We are looking for 5 to 6 volunteers to come forward and who has created value during pandemic, right?
Yes.
What we are talking about.
They did something different and they achieved the success. And it is good to learn from these practicing managers who achieved success and how pandemic made them a better project manager. So please come forward and share your stories. It would be helpful to all of us.
You can post your interest in our WhatsApp group, or you can send it to me or Ketan on the WhatsApp that you would like to participate in that.
And rest assured, we will be there to help you. If you
Yes.
need any
assistance. We will be guiding actually to you that how to participate and how to organize everything. You just have to have some story that what you have done better during pandemic.
And I thank all participants for their active participation. I think you all made this program very, very interesting. So Vivek, over to you.
Yes. And just to let everybody knows that this program was live on Facebook, and soon after this program, the recording will be automatically available there. Okay, so over to Kalyan for the vote of thanks.
Yeah, my friend, I'm at a loss of words because I've been really impressed, and I myself have learned a lot during this session here. I can't put a dollar tag to the value which I had, from this session. Thank you, KG, for your very insightful session. My takeaway would be to look at anything in a holistic way, not just what was presented to you or what you see is what you get is a wrong impression. We will have to change this concept of what you see is what you get. We will have to go beyond it and tell the customer you will get a lot more than what you see. So that's the way the value creation can be built. And that would be the starting point, the discussion point with your customer to make it much more useful. I would not leave it only to the professional.
More sympathetic.
Yeah, I would say we can even look at it, even our family life also. How do we create value for our own people, family around us? Why should we look everything in a transactional mode? Why don't we look at it at a more holistic way? That's the practice which we should try to put into. That would make life
also at our individual level, our own self.
Yes.
Are we adding value?
True, very true. So that has been a big takeaway for me, a very good eye opener, and definitely you helped me understand how do we implement value management. I am definitely going to try it out going ahead. Of course, as a beginner, but I'm sure sometime later I'll be able to share my experiences with all of you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
everyone.
Thank you, Ketan, for your insights, the stories and insightful session. And thank you everyone who has attended this program and taking out your time, investing your time here. I am sure that you would have your learnings from this program and for creating values in your life. Thank you very much. We'll close that.
Thank you.
Session. Yeah.
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you.
Bye all. Bye all.